In the 2016 presidential campaign, one candidate's claim to integrity is that because he has his own money, he is above the fray of special interest groups and political power brokers, free to speak his own mind. In fact, he asserted that if elected, he would forego a salary. Interestingly, this is not the first time money has been discussed in the context of government, nor is it the first time attention was given to the right of those in government to speak their minds. The framers of our Constitution were worried about what could happen if federal legislators were not paid, who would pay them, and whether legislators should enjoy the fullest freedom of speech and be protected against everyone, however powerful, who might have been offended by their speech. How were these issues resolved? With Article 1, Section 6, Clause 1. The senators and representatives shall receive a compensation for their services, to be ascertained by law and paid out of the Treasury of the United States. They shall in all cases except treason, felony, and breach of peace be privileged from arrest during their attendance at the session of their respective houses, and in going to and returning from the same. And for any speech or debate in either house, they shall not be questioned in any other place. Article 1, Section 6, Clause 1 has two parts. One that addresses pay as an incentive for senators and representatives, the compensation clause, and one that addresses certain privileges enjoyed by our legislators, the speech and debate clause. The compensation clause resolved two issues: whether legislators would be paid and the source of that payment. In his commentaries on the Constitution of the United States, Justice Joseph Story argued that unpaid legislators might be compelled by their necessities or tempted by their wants to yield up their independence or perhaps their integrity to the allurements of the corrupt or the opulent. If no compensation was provided, some feared that wealthy candidates would create a de facto plutocracy, an elite or ruling class whose power derives from their wealth. The decision to compensate legislators was made, but this decision required consideration of who was to pay. Under the Articles of Confederation, delegates to Congress were paid by their respective states. Constitutional Convention delegates concluded that requiring payment of federal legislators out of federal funds will preserve the integrity of a new system of government. As a final safeguard, this issue was revisited with a 27th Amendment provision that prevented a sitting Congress from giving themselves a pay raise that would take effect during its term. The speech and debate clause resolved another issue: whether legislators will be able to remain independent in their thoughts and in the expression of those thoughts. Can you imagine a legislator being thrown into jail for criticizing the government? Well, the framers of our Constitution certainly cannot imagine such restraint on freedom of expression. According to Justice Harlan, the importance of the speech and debate clause was not simply personal or private benefits of members of Congress, but to preserve the integrity of the legislative process by ensuring individual liberties of legislators. If a legislator's actions meet the legislative process test, then immunity is absolute. Does this leave room for abuse? In fact, it does. However, a legislator guilty of such abuse is still subject to disciplinary actions by their respective houses for disorderly behavior and disciplinary actions by their constituents on Election Day. Article 1, Section 6, Clause 1. Thank you.